Once upon a time, in a kingdom far, far away,
Welcome to Germany!
lived a little princess named Anna.
In a time when castles and knights were common,
But good medical care wasn't.
This was a sick baby.
Anna won the heart of her noble father.
But not even a king could save her from an early death. We're on our way to find out how she died
She's incredibly well preserved.
and how monks prepared her body.
To keep the princess baby here forever.
I'm Ron Beckett.
I'm Jerry Conlogue.
By day, we're professors,
We teach live people.
but our passion is mummies,
We take our gear
X-ray machines, and endoscopes.
on the road.
You'd be surprised where mummies turn up.
And who got 'em?
There isn't a mummy we won't investigate. Bavaria, well known for good beer and fairy tale landscapes.
It's an overnight flight to Munich from the United States. Then a 2.5-hour drive north to a small town famous for its mummy.
Kassel's a beautiful town in Germany. It's a really tiny village. And in the early 1300s, King Ludwig de Bayer was traveling through here when his daughter died.
How Anna came to rest here is a legend passed down over the centuries.
This is a love story, a royal love story about a father and his daughter. Early in the 14th century, Ludwig de Bayer was the king of Bavaria, and he later became emperor. Ludwig had 4 children by his first wife, and the youngest of these was Anna. Anna was very special. In January 1319, Ludwig and his family were traveling through this area around Kassel, and his daughter Anna became ill and she died.
As the story goes, Anna was 3 years old.
Ludwig's heart was broken. He brought Anna to this monastery and asked the monks to care for her for eternity. Isn't that wild?
My first time to a medieval town.
Look at this, some medieval people. This might be the monastery right here.
The monks are long gone, but the surviving church still sits on a hill above the village. The townspeople continue to care for Anna there.
Kastel's a small place, so it doesn't take us long to find our host, Hermann Romer.
How are you? Good to see you.
I'm glad to see you too.
Hermann is a vice principal at a local school.
He's also an expert on the history of Kassel and the story of Anna.
We got permission to bring our X-ray and endoscope to find out how much of Anna's tale is true.
How a princess died at such a young age and became a mummy.
It's about a 3-minute drive from the town square up to the old monastery.
Oh, beautiful view.
Yeah.
The village is named for the 3 castles that once sat on top of this hill. The owners founded the monastery in 1103 A.D.
The priest is out of town, but it's not long before we're spotted.
She thinks she recognizes Jerry from somewhere. I don't know.
After a little persuasion, Hermann manages to get a hold of the keys.
The oldest surviving record of Princess Anna's story dates to 1830.
According to that document, Benedictine monks laid Anna in a tomb after her death.
The stone is carved in Latin, and it says Anna, daughter of Ludwig, king, and it's that
Roman king.
Roman king, and then her name, and then the year that she died.
In 1319.
For us, this is such an unusual event that we're actually going to be studying an individual that we know the history of.
Jesuit monks eventually took over the monastery, and in 1715 they transferred Anna to a wooden cabinet for all to see.
Oh my goodness. She's incredibly well preserved. The hair on the top of her head, you can see a little swirl of hair.
She's tiny for a 3-year-old. You would expect if she, was sickly, that she wouldn't grow.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Diagnostic Duo.
We'll start with our portable X-ray gear to uncover clues about Anna's life, death, and preservation.
Here we are. We're going to first build a darkroom and then try to figure out exactly how we're going to take X-rays of our little princess. She can't be moved. We can't remove her from the cabinet. So it's going to take a little work, but we haven't failed in the past. I think we're going to be able to do this.
Building a darkroom normally takes about 40 minutes.
But we're feeling good today. We'll tackle it in under 10 seconds.
So far, looks good, Jerry. No light leaks.
Yeah, no light leaks.
A few more poles to hold Jerry's old X-ray unit, and we're just about ready to go.
For our first images, we'll use instant film.
We'll throw some rays at it. Let's kick the tires and light the fires. Get it? Yep.
The last step, waiting for the film to develop. It takes about a minute.
Excellent, 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 excellent.
All right.
Very good, Gerald. Wow.
We can see the teeth here, and it looks like these two molars haven't erupted yet.
I think she's younger than 3 years.
Yeah.
Younger.
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah. Take a look. This is a chart that she used, and these are her two molars, her back teeth.
Mm-hmm.
The position of Anna's teeth matches more closely that of an 18-month-old.
At 3 years of age, her back molars would have already erupted.
So, from a year to 2 years, I'd say under 2 years.
Under 2 years.
So the story may have gotten it wrong. The princess baby appears to be about half the age the legend claimed.
Look at the shape of the chest.
But the shape of the chest looks a little unusual. So what we're seeing here is that the chest is dipping down. It's almost caved in instead of being nice and rounded.
One thing that's possible from the chest shape like this is people with vitamin D deficiency or rickets can have that shape of chest. But there are other important characteristics of the bones that when Jerry moves down, we'll be able to make a more definitive call on that.
Rickets is a childhood disease resulting from a deficiency in vitamin D. The primary cause? A lack of sunlight.
Growing bones don't mineralize properly. In an active child, this leads to deformities such as bowed arms and legs.
Could rickets have led to Anna's death?
We'll need more X-rays to find out. For our next shot, we use regular film. It's larger and may give us a better look at the chest. But it'll have to be developed in a lab.
We head to a radiology clinic a short drive from Castile, at a United States Army training area.
Osteopath Dr. Brian Cushing takes an interest in the case. So we ask him for a second opinion on Anna's age and her health.
Well, yeah, I can't say that I've had a lot of experience looking at 1,000-year-old babies.
Her bones may be old, but they hold another clue about Anna's age.
There's a certain stretch on the bone from the muscle that attaches to the neck, and as the child begins to lift his head and turn his neck around, it actually puts a tension on the bone and brings down that bone, so it forms into a more of a pointed end instead of just a smooth surface.
It's called the mastoid process. This image shows what it looks like in an adult. But Princess Anna's remain smooth and rounded like that of a baby, certainly younger than 3.
Well, I think it still puts you somewhere between the first and second years.
The same age determined by looking at Anna's teeth.
But what about the unusual shape of the chest? Jerry runs the X-ray film through the processor to see what the image reveals.
shot. It's not too bad. They lighten up a little bit.
But if you look at the chest
Just don't look that bad.
We're able to cover a larger area using the X-ray film than we could with the Polaroid film. So you can get an idea of what the whole chest looks like.
So far, the jury is still out on whether or not Anna suffered from rickets.
I didn't see a lot of the big deformity that you see in rickets yet. That could be something that shows up in future X-rays. In those days, people had a lot of children because they lost their kids to different childhood diseases. Even things like a common cold could take off and turn into a pneumonia that got out of control, and a child could easily have died from something as simple as that.
And she died in the winter. It was in January.
Okay.
Yeah, the cold and flu season.
Right.
The prince's baby isn't the only attraction in town.
Kastel is also home to some of the oldest bells in Germany. Getting to them involves climbing up and down a labyrinth of stairs through a medieval tower.
Oh,
I'll feel it.
Steve